if in the next few minutes I could help you live a more meaningful life without making any major changes to it, do you think you'd want that? Good. Because you don't know how many days you're going to get in your life. You just know that once today is gone, it is never, ever coming back. And at some point, you will close your eyes for the very last time. And I don't mean to be morbid. Actually, I want to try to encourage you with that. Because if your life is just a collection of experiences that you have between birth and death, fully half or more of those experiences are going to be gained at work. Yes, in your job, in your career. And I think that's really important. I think anything you do with half of your life every day should be as meaningful as possible. So that's what I want to talk about with you today briefly, is meaning at work. And I know for some of us it's difficult to find that meaning in the work that we do because, let's face it, nobody wakes up passionate about ketchup. Am I right? Except Mohammed. Mohammed is he's a ketchup salesman. Actually, I was restructuring the largest manufacturer of ketchup and mayonnaise and sauces in the Middle East and North Africa a couple of years ago, and I was introduced to a man named Mohammed, who is the most prolific ketchup salesman in the region. And I guess somebody has to be the best, right? So it's Mohammed. And I interviewed him and I asked him, so why are you so passionate about ketchup? And he laughed at me and he said, oh, Corrie, that's funny. Nobody's that passionate about ketchup. Except actually my sister-in-law, who, I'm not kidding, she puts ketchup on vanilla ice cream, which I think qualifies as passion. Got it, right. So I think she's passionate about ketchup, but Mohammed, who is moves tens of thousands of metric tons of ketchup around the world every year, not that passionate about ketchup. So I asked him, I said, so why are you doing this job? And he said, listen, it's not the ketchup. It's my friends in the office. I love the team that I work with. I love my clients. I love when I walk out of the room thinking that I've won, and they walk out of the same room thinking that they've won. It's the guys in the manufacturing plant. I love that team. They're amazing. And most of all, it's my family. I want my kids to have better education options than I had when I was growing up. And I want to give them a quality of life that's better than the one that I had when I was growing up. And that's really why I go to work. It has really nothing to do with the ketchup. And I think that's the secret. I think that's what everybody knows, but nobody's willing to say out loud. We're not there for the products or services of the companies that we represent. Sorry. But that's true, right? It's true of you. You don't wake up thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to change another tire today, or balance another spreadsheet, or do another graphic design. You don't wake up passionate about the what of what you do, but each and every one of us wakes up with a passion, or can wake up with a passion for who we do it with and why we're there. Now, I've done some research on this, figured out that most humans, most of the time, are actually very happy to collect garbage for a living if they understand why they're doing it and they like the people they're doing it with, right? So it's not really about what we do, right? It's who we're with and why we're there. And every single one of us goes to work every day with a personal vision for our personal lives, and we have personal goals that we're trying to achieve that have nothing to do with the products or services of the companies that we're working in or that they represent. And that's the truth. And that goes right up to the level of the CEO in most organizations that I've been in. And that's okay, because it doesn't matter. We just haven't said it out loud very often. The truth is, we're all a little bit selfish. Okay, but yes, we're all a little bit selfish. Yes, I get it, it's true. But our ancestors, about 250,000 years ago, realized that actually the most effective, most efficient form of selfishness is together, on teams. So I can hunt and gather for a couple of families, and another family can provide protection, and somebody else can do nurturing for childcare, and somebody else can do food preparation, and that's the early division of labor. You get my point? We learned hundreds of thousands of years ago as humans that the most effective form of selfishness is together, on teams. We provide for and protect each other. And those teams, there were families, and then tribes, and then nations, and cities, and empires, right? And then with the Industrial Revolution about 350 years ago, businesses. And that's what I think businesses actually are. I think businesses are economic tribes. I think it's just a new form of a very old truth, and that is that we are better together. And even though all of us have personal goals for our personal lives that we're trying to achieve, the best, fastest way for us to achieve them is together on teams, economic teams. And let me give you a couple of examples. Mark, for example, one of my executive coaching clients, I've been working with him for a couple of years now, but we started our relationship writing down his vision, mission, values, and goals for his personal life. Okay, within 6 months, he got a raise, he got a promotion to SVP, he finished his PMP certification, started his MBA, and he was spending more time at home with his wife and kids. And I think that's an amazing thing. And it's not just individuals that are benefiting from this, it's actual whole companies that are benefiting, like the Al Masaood Group in Abu Dhabi. I helped them to do their leadership training for about 4 years, and this was pre-COVID actually we started, and I took 220 of their top executives and senior level managers through the writing of their vision and mission and values and goals for their personal life so they could see why it is that they had partnered with this company. And the result of that leadership culture where everybody was selfish but they were all doing it together meant that during COVID, when everyone else in their industry, when all of their competitors were receding, laying people off, letting people go, cutting back, the Al Masaood Group expanded. They invested. They didn't lay off a single person, not one, and they gained market share as a result of that culture that they had in the organization. And I think that's amazing. I think it's an incredible thing that they were able to accomplish all of that just for having that clarity. Selfish together, you know? And I think that's a miracle. So I want you to experience a little bit of that right now. You ready? I want you to think about your career, your job, the position that you're in, and I want you to think about the company that you're in as an economic tribe. You got that? Economic tribe. Got it. Now, I want you to think about your personal goals for your personal life. Just think of one or two, okay? You might want, maybe you want to be rich. Fine. You want to be famous. Okay. Right? So wherever you are now to wherever you want to be, it's going to have to start here where you are, right? Because that's where you actually are. So maybe you want a nice car, a nice house. Fine. No problem at all. You want good education options for your kids? We got you. No problem, right? So you've got those goals in your mind, right? That's the real reason you're at work. You want a great, strong career path, good money. You want to retire at a reasonable age. You've got your goals, and you're thinking of yourself as a member of an economic tribe. Now, I want you to answer two very simple questions. Why are you here? And why are you here? Okay, so I'll clarify. We need to describe them, right? So question number one is why are you here and not somewhere else? Right? Because you could be in a lot of different companies doing what you're doing, right? Or you could be doing something different in the same company that you're in, but you're not. You're in your company as a result of every decision you've ever made in your entire life, and so that's not a mistake. You empower yourself with that, right? You did that for yourself. But my bet is that you're there because, well, you're not a victim, you're not a slave, and you're not an idiot, right? You chose to be there. You're not a victim. You made a deal with an economic community to exchange some services for a share of the resources in that economic tribe. Now that you're there, you're not a slave. So you can leave whenever you want, presumably, right? You could quit if you want and go and work for a different economic tribe. But most importantly, and I think this is really valuable, you're not an idiot. You're there because fundamentally, you know that this is your best, fastest, most effective way for you to accomplish your personal goals for your personal life. Because if there was a better way to do that, you'd be doing that. Am I right? But you're not doing that. You're doing this. So this must be the best, fastest, most effective way for you to achieve your personal goals for your personal life. And that is why you are here and not somewhere else? What about the second question, though? Why are you here and not someone else? And see, this is really important as well, because in our organizations, we fundamentally do not hire qualified people, and you need to know this. It's really interesting. Because what happens when we recruit people like yourselves into the organizations in which you work, we advertise. Oh, we've got a job opening, great. And then we get 500 CVs. And those 500 CVs get shoved through the applicant tracking system, which then cuts it down to about 10. And then we take those 10 and we look through them, and all of them are qualified, right? Because all of them are qualified. Because we don't interview people that aren't already qualified. We don't waste our time talking to people if we already know they're not qualified. So everyone that's interviewed for the job was qualified. So if we were looking for a qualified person, we could just take any random CV from that deck, send them an offer letter, and hope for the best. But we don't actually do that in any of our organizations. What do? We talk to you. Why? Why is it important for us to talk to you if we're just looking for qualified people? Well, because, like I said, we don't hire qualified people. We hire a kind of qualified person. And so the reality is that who you were in the interview, in that process, that's what got you the job. Somebody from the organization sat across from you at some interview table, and then you got up and walked out, and then they looked at the other person at the same table, and they said, that Kim, she's a good fit, or that Jerry, he's the kind of person we're looking for. And that's actually why it's you and not someone else in your job, because you're a good fit. You're a kind of person. And that'll never show up on your CV. You've got to be qualified to get the interview. But you've got to be a kind of person to get the job. And that is why it's you and not someone else. Do you see your job a little bit differently now? Do you maybe experience your work in your head just a little? Do you find a little bit more meaning in what you do? Good. Because like I said, you don't have to find any meaning at all in what you do as long as you know why you're there and you like reasonably who you're with. And the benefits to this are amazing. I mean, Harvard Business Press called meaning the new money. And I think it's probably actually right. Meaning is the new money. I mean, the studies that have come out recently by Gallup and BetterUp have shown us that those companies whose employees find meaning at work, who enjoy the company of the people that they're with, and they know why they're there, those companies are 21% more profitable. They're 17% higher performing. There's 59% less turnover, 41% less absenteeism. They have an average employee tenure of 7.5 months more, and they'll work 2 less leave days every year and work an extra hour every week, which adds up to an extra week's worth of work every year, right? And so that's a pretty good deal for the organization, right? If we get all of these employees that work really well, you think, oh, well, that's not so good for the employee, right? But no, remember, all of the ingredients to this were meaning. The employee finds their work meaningful. And you know, the BetterUp study that I mentioned, they said that 90% of employees are willing to work for 23% less pay if they work in a job where they find meaning, where they find connection. But even though they're willing to work for less, we actually pay them more. Did you know that? Those employees who find meaning at work, who know why they're there and like who they're with, they have more opportunities for advancements. They get more raises than everybody else. Why? Because they find their work meaningful. They work a little extra. They work a little harder. They like what they're doing and they connect with those around them. And yeah, so they get more opportunities for raises and for advancements, and they make more money. Even though they're willing to work for less, we pay them more. So that sounds like a win-win to me. But it doesn't actually stop there. The studies have shown us that those employees who find meaning at work, again, not in the what they do, but in the who they're with and why they're there, those employees are happier, they're healthier, and they statistically live longer lives. Yes. So yes, you can increase the length of someone else's life by helping them to find meaning at work, because I think anything that you do with half of your life every day should be as meaningful as possible. And if you do find that meaning, not in the what you do, but in the who you're with and why you're there, you will be happier, you will be healthier, you will live longer, your company will make more money, and I think that's an idea worth spreading. Thank you.